So lots of avenues where this money could go, and 6.5 to 8% could be the monthly saving.
6 to 8% saving, but where will this saving go? That is an important question, and to answer all those questions, we have with us a stellar panel. Harsh Rungta, founder, Fee Only Investment Advisors. We also have Madhvi Arora, lead economist, MK Global, and joining with us Abneesh Roy, executive director, Nuvama Institutional Equities. Madhvi, I want to come to you first. How much of the impact of this cut or rationalization will have on economy per se, because that is the pertinent question which all the stakeholders are asking?
So we have to see it from 2 points, right? One would be the balance sheet impact on the government of India and the balance sheet impact on the household. From the government's point of view, they are suggesting that they will be bearing a loss of nearly 500 billion rupees, which is around less than 0.2% of GDP. Now that is coming from the loss they would incur because of the cuts in GST to the tune of around 938 billion. And the net gain that they would make by implementing the sin tax, which would be close to around 450 billion. So net they are losing in their balance sheet roughly around 480 to 500 billion, which is less than 0.2% of GDP. On the other hand, from the household perspective point of view, whatever is the loss of the exchequer should be the gain to the other economic agents, whether it's household or the other private economic agents. But here, obviously, the impact is directly to the household. Apart from this, we also would be seeing dissolution of the compensation cess, which was roughly around 1,500 to 600 billion rupees. Again, close to around 0.4% of GDP. So if you include that and the net loss to the the exchequer, the balance sheet gain to the household could be as high as 0.6% of GDP. And if I look at the fiscal multipliers, general of indirect tax cut is close to around 1.2x. So the net gain to the economy, assuming that the government actually incurs this loss on its book and does not cut its fiscal loss by reducing its expenditure, just from the balance sheet point of the government of India, could be around 0.3 to 0.4% of GDP over the medium term. But in the near term, I think the household could see almost 0.6% of GDP worth of benefit in their balance sheet over an annualized basis.
Okay, so that's the take coming in on what this could mean at a macro level. But Abneesh, good to be chatting with you once again. Give us a sense on what the aggregate saving on someone's consumption bill on a monthly budget in terms of your grocery, your personal care. Since there are different GST cuts across a range of products, what could the net or the aggregate savings on GST be?
Yeah, thanks. Good afternoon. From a FMCG perspective, in foods, we'll see a higher cut. For example, biscuits, clearly we expect 12 to 13% cut in pricing or increase in grammage. So we see biscuit and snacks, the biggest benefit will happen for the listed companies. So Britannia, Bikaji, etc. From a volume growth perspective, we see uptick, and from a consumption perspective, also consumers will see the big benefit here, because biscuits, the GST rate reduction is from 18% to 5%. For snacks, it is from 12% to 5%. So in these categories, customer buys a pack. So unlike a toothpaste, for example, where initially, yes, the lower unit packs for Colgate, HUL, etc., there will be a grammage increase because there is a lower unit pack even in toothpaste. But if you see from a 1 year perspective, I don't think toothpaste kind of category will see too much of a volume uptick. Having said that, if you see, the general perception is that in FMCG, because of price cut or affordability, does customer consume more? I think there is some level of truth for sure. If you see in rural India, we have seen FMCG categories, FMCG companies have seen 6 to 7% last few quarters because of the freebies. So yes, customer upgrades from local brand to the national brands, bigger brands. He also buys larger packs, more consumption increases in toothpaste. For example, in rural India, still double brushing is not there. In urban India, also only 20% of the urban Indians use toothpaste twice. So there will be some consumption increase even in toothpaste, but my sense is bigger increase will happen in biscuits and snacks. Coming to a specific question, yes, I also expect that in FMCG broadly, in categories where the cut has happened, we will see an increase of around 4% to around 9%, 10%, because there will be cuts and there will be grammage increase. See, many categories have not seen a cut, right? If you see detergent, which is a very large FMCG category, has seen no cut. Hair dye has seen no cut. So many categories in HPC have not seen a cut. Detergent was a surprising miss by the government, but in foods, I think the higher, and even in soaps, etc., boosting consumption will be there.
All right, point taken. So from groceries to medical care, the impact of GST is going to be everywhere, I believe. And for that, Harsh, I want to understand from you the pertinent question: where will these savings go? If somebody is saving 6 to 8% a month, do you think SIP number is going to be bigger, or you think even bank will get some of the share of the savings?
I think this is something that will need to be sort of, deciphered. There will be first order effects and then there would be second order effects, etc. The first order effect of something getting cheaper, classical economists suggest that, okay, the demand for that goes up. Now, some of these items, I mean, there is only so much toothpaste that you can sort of use. And, therefore, I don't know, I don't want to pick a specific category. So, one is that for certain items, things like consumer durables, etc., where, the GST has come down dramatically, the demand may actually go up. People might actually spend more on them. They may actually move to that category from, say, an air cooler earlier to an air conditioner. It's very much possible. Secondly, whether they will save or spend also depends on what is, a 3, 4 big jargon, the marginal propensity to consume. When you have additional money in your hand, what will people do? So typically, the lower middle class and the middle class will tend to spend more with that money. The slightly upper middle class and richer people will tend to save more. So I think it's very difficult to know today what would happen. But if I was, to take a bet, I would say that the expenditure would go up because we are typically a very, very lower middle class and middle class economy. And I think that is good for the economy because what the government has given up in terms of the rate cuts on GST, probably it will make up on volumes. At least some part of it, it is hopefully will make up on volumes, and that's also good for the economy. So it's not necessary that this will go into savings or into investments.
All right, point well taken, Mr. Rungta. But with this, it's time to take a very quick break. I would request all of you to stay with us because we'll come back very shortly after the break. Welcome back after the break. We are discussing GST rate rationalization from September 22nd, and GST is a market story. It is inflation story, it is consumption story, but moreover, it is a story about you viewers. Each one of you who is watching ET now from your home, how will it impact your income, your pocket? My colleague Snehi is standing by to answer just that question. She has spent hours just to research that. Snehi, for a family who has 4 people, how much of the budget will change after September 22nd?
Well, Uncle, let's get right to it. And GST rate cuts are just around the corner, making everyday spends from groceries to medicines cheaper. Now, as per the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, the rejig is expected to put nearly 2 lakh crore rupees back into the consumer's hands. But like we were discussing, what does this mean for you as a family of 4? Let's find out. Now, it is important to note these are ET Now estimates based on a survey internally conducted by us. Now, we've imagined 3 families across different income income groups per month. You have family A earning 28,000 rupees a month, family B that makes 1.5 lakh rupees a month, and family C on the higher income side, 5 lakh rupees per month is their monthly income, and we'll be tracking their spends and see what they save after the September 22nd rate cut implementation. So here's the math to begin with. To set some context, grocery bills now work out about 4% cheaper based on a Kotak estimate for GST cut across categories in this basket. Dining out has gone from 12% GST down to 5%, which means your overall saving is 7%. Entertainment such as movie tickets above 100 rupees is unchanged at 18%, so no benefit over there. Medicines have become 7% cheaper from 12% to 5%. For personal care, items such as soaps and shampoos are down by about 10%, once again based on a Kotak estimate across the broad categories that fall into this personal care basket. The biggest relief, of course, is on insurance. Both health insurance and life insurance have moved from 18% GST to 0, which means your net saving is a straight 18%. So let's begin. Category-wise, let's talk about grocery first. Family A, for example, spends 4,000 rupees a month on grocery and now will be saving 160 rupees on the back of that 4% saving rate. Family B spends 16,000 and saves 640 rupees. Let's talk about family C. They're spending about 45,000 rupees in grocery and are saving 1,800. So that's for family B and C that we've just spoken about, and that's the overall saving coming in. Final saving over here up to 4%. Next up, let's take a look at dining out. That's the category that we are talking about. Family A is spending about 2,000 rupees and saves 140 rupees on dining out. Family B is spending 4,500 and saves 315. This, of course, based on our calculation about what is the GST cut coming in on dining in. Remember, restaurants have gone from 12% to 5%, so a 7% straight up saving coming in. Lastly, let's take a look at what family C saves when it comes to dining out. They spend 10,000 a month and they're saving 700. All in all, final savings coming up to 7 rupees. Now let's talk about entertainment. There is absolutely no change here in terms of movie tickets above 100 rupees. So all families continue to pay 18% GST on movie tickets above 100 rupees. Final savings other than F&B spends, absolutely zero over here. No savings on this front. Let's talk about the next big category and moving on to medicines. No spend for family A right now. Family B is spending 4,000 rupees a month and saving 280 rupees. If you talk about medicine, family C is spending 5,000 rupees and saves 350. Final saving on the total medical bill on about each family for every month comes up to 7%. So that's the savings that you're seeing coming in. 5,000 rupees spent and 350 rupees saved by family C. That's the all-in-all saving for medicines. Let's move on to the next category. Talk about personal care, and that will be soon up on your screen as well. Family A is spending 500 rupees on personal care and now will save 50, because remember, 10% overall estimate is what we're estimating for personal care. Moving to family B, they're spending 2,500 and saving 250. Family C spends 5,000 and saves 500 rupees. So the final GST rate here of saving is 10%. Now, the big category, let's talk about health insurance and life insurance. First, let's start by talking about health insurance. Family A spends 1250 monthly on premium and saves 225 rupees on health insurance. Let's talk about family B. That's the family of 4. That's making 1.5 lakh rupees a month. For family B, they're spending 3,000 on insurance premiums and 540 is their net saving. For family C, they're saving 6,000. They're spending 6,500 and saving 1,170 based on that straight 18% benefit that you get both on life and health insurance. The final saving coming for 18%. Similarly is the case for life insurance as well. Family A has no spend as of now. Family B spends 8,000 and saves 1,440, and family C is spending 25,000 and saving 4,500 rupees. So that's the net saving coming in across the spectrum of insurance, both life and health, coming down to straight 18%. So across families A, B and C, the monthly savings work out to 6.5% to 8%, anywhere between there on total spends, which is a meaningful cushion for household budgets. That money can easily flow into higher discretionary spending or investments like SIPs and equities. In short, the GST cut just got friendlier for your pocket. Back to you.
Definitely, it has got friendlier on our pocket, and to analyze it further, we have our guest Abneesh. I want to come to you first. It has been said that after these regex, there will be impact on the earnings of FMCG basket per se. What is your analysis? How much of this consumption boost will help these companies?
Yeah, see, first is of course if you see the government's intent is that companies should pass it on to customer fully. So my sense is initially FMCG companies will look to pass it to end customer at a portfolio level fully to the customer. So to that extent, the benefit for FMCG companies will be more in terms of the operating leverage. As I said, in food like biscuits and snacks, it will be a real consumption boost because in these categories, almost 50-60% of the consumption happens at 5 rupee, 10 rupee price point, and customer buys a pack. He doesn't buy X grams of biscuit or X grams of bhujia or namkeen. So in such cases, if the biscuit company is offering 12-13% extra grammage, or the bhujia company is offering 6-7% extra bhujia, that's a real consumption boost. So I would say that yes, there will be, I think, 2-5%, 2-6% kind of a EBITDA boost for many companies because of these reasons, because this is operating leverage kind of benefit. Here we are assuming that companies are fully passing it on to the end customer. But I would say that currently there is two kind of lack of clarity for consumer companies. One is what happens to the inverted duty structure, because some of the raw material is still at 18% kind of a GST rate. The services are at 18% GST rate. So if the end product is at 5% and the service and some of the RM is at 18%, full offset won't be possible. Yes, refund is a mechanism, but please note for service, the refund is not available. So there is this bit of challenge. The second bit of challenge is some of the factories of the FMCG companies get mega project benefit, they get some fiscal benefit. Now again, those will continue. But issue is again at a SGST rate of 2.5% because the total rate, new rate of GST is 5%. So SGST is where they get a refund. At such a low GST rate, they will not be able to fully use it. So in such cases, state governments will have to extend the tenure. Now, there is no full clarity because these are discussions which are yet to happen.
Right, Abneesh, point taken. Point taken. Due to paucity of time, I am just interrupting in between. So, 2-6% EBITDA is what Abneesh is expecting. But to you, Madhvi, I want to understand if these things happen, if spends are increasing, if companies are also making money, often it is being noticed that it will be inflationary too. What is your assessment on that front? Of course, GDP impact will be there, but on other hand, RBI has been quite comfortable on inflation till now. So do you think it will have inflationary adjustments as well?
So in the first leg, actually it will be disinflationary, right? Because the rates have come down. So our math suggests that we would see, almost 100 bips impact on CPI on an annualized basis if the pass on to consumer is almost 100%, which may not be the case, even assuming a 60-70% pass through to consumers in terms of GST rate cuts. There could be an annualized gain of roughly around 50-60 bips on CPI inflation. So first leg will be definitely disinflationary in nature, which will essentially do a leg down across the next 1 year or so. With regard to demand-led inflation, to be very honest, at this point in time, we are at a, last leg of our growth cycle or late cycle economics, rather, I would say, which basically means that the demand push, needed would be much higher for it to be an inflationary impact. To be very fair, in the last 2 years consecutively, we are actually seeing core inflation led by demand side or ex gold being pretty much subdued. So I don't think there's a demand-led inflation problem. The whole idea of improving demand is to essentially have healthy, inflation in the economy. So I don't think it's going to be a trouble for the Reserve Bank of India per se. I think the whole idea is to essentially reignite consumption economics, which has been missing in the last 2 years or 3 years in the, overall private economic agent basket.
Right.
So I think to that extent, we're not too worried on the inflation aspect of it. Okay. In fact, for the year as a whole, we think inflation could be pretty much, as low as 2.5%.
Okay, so that sounds optimistic. And Mr. Rungta, closing thoughts on this entire GST rate rationalization and this little cushion that consumers will get in their budget. How do you think that should be budgeted towards different expenses?
So I think it's been very, very well timed, very well thought through. And I think the immediate impact, and you did this very interesting analysis of the three families, A, B, and C. My own impression is that the first order effect we will see is a jump in both the normal expenditures on FMCG, etc., as well as discretionary items like consumer durables, those that have sort of reduced costs, even those where the GST hasn't come down, because there will be this, substitute sort of an effect that you have now more money available. So maybe you will spend it on things that you might not have otherwise spent. So I think the initial urge from a householder's perspective will be an increase, and we have the festivals right around the corner with the standard, the festival season is beginning. So I think we will have a really big jumper in both the normal things, the normal buys that households have, as well as the discretionary expenditure. And I think that is good. And as ma'am was just explaining, I think we have got the cushion to, not let the mild inflationary impact that it might possibly have. I think the economy has the cushion to absorb it. So I think we have good times ahead. It definitely is
Definitely.
very, very good news.
Definitely, Mr. Rungta. Thank you so much, Madhvi, Mr. Rungta, as well as Abneesh, for joining at this hour with your views. With this, it's time for a wrap in this special show. And GST is not just a story of household, a story of markets, a story of policy, story of balance sheets. But more importantly, it is a story of rising with India. Thank you so much for watching.